PS5 tutorial. So we finally have a method of being able to use remote play on our jailbroken PS5. Now technically this was possible already. If you happen to have a PS5 that had been connected to a PSN account at some point in the past, that way it was properly officially activated. And that way you would have access to the remote play settings, which you can find in the settings menu here. If we go down to system and go down to remote play, this would be accessible to you. However, for most of us, we've not had a console that's connected and is now PSN on a jailbreakable firmware. So for us, we don't have access to this option. And that has been the main problem. Even with offline activating your account on the PS5, even though we've had access to that for some time, it does not enable the remote play setting. So what we have now is that IdleSauce has figured out a way to actually bypass this so that we still don't have access to the remote play settings here, but it will enable it for you. And then it will give you the PIN code so that you can connect a remote device. This only needs to happen because once you have your device paired to the console, you'll be able to connect to it at any point, even when you're not running the jailbreak. For instance, so this is really only a one-time thing. You'll be able to access remote play. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we can actually get this set up. So the first step that's required is to offline activate your account. Now, if you know that you already have an offline activated account on your PS5, you can skip to the timestamp I'll put on screen here to get to the point of pairing your remote device. But if you haven't already offline activated your account, stick with me here so I can show you how to do that. The first step here is to run the jailbreak. We're gonna use the untext jailbreak rather than the IPv6 version because this seems to be the go-to exploit at the moment. And it works from 1.xx up to 5.xx firmware. So we're gonna run the jailbreak here on our PS5. Okay, so when we run the jailbreak, we'll get John Torlem's ELF loader running automatically. With the UNTX jailbreak, if you are using the older IPv6 then you'll need to explicitly run John Torlem's ELF loader once you've loaded the jailbreak. So make sure you do that first of all. And then once we're here, there's a few things that we're gonna want to run. We're gonna want to run the FTP server so that we can install the offline activator. So we're gonna select that first and run FTP server. And there is running on port to 1-to-1. And then secondly, we also want to run the web server as well, so the homebrew loader. We're gonna run that too and get that up and running. There we go. Okay, so for offline activating we need to download the homebrew loader. So we're gonna download the homebrew loader package. We also want to download the offline account zip file and extract that out somewhere on your computer. Like your desktop. So from here, we also want to grab ourselves an FTP client like Filzilla, or use FTP from within Windows, whatever you prefer. So we're gonna run our FTP client. Enter the IP address of our PS5 here in the host box. And then of course we're gonna do 2121 and quick connect to connect us up here to our PS5's hard drive. Then we're gonna go into the data folder on the hard drive and create a new directory in here called homebrew, if it doesn't already exist, and then go into that folder. And we're gonna copy our offline account activator in here. So extract your offline account activator zip file into a folder called off-account-off-act. So we've got all of our activator files in this folder here. And we're just gonna copy that folder into the homebrew folder on the hard drive. And get that copied over there so it's all set up and ready. So that's all we need for the offline account activator. If you haven't already got the homebrew launcher installed, you'll also need to grab yourself a USB drive and copy the homebrew launcher package file here to the root of that USB drive. Copy it over there, and then eject the drive and plug it into your PS5, okay? So back on the PS5 here, we're gonna exit out of the browser. We're gonna head over to our settings page. We're gonna scroll down to debug settings, game, and of course package installer, and we'll install the homebrew loader. And there it is. Okay, so from this point, we can go ahead and run the homebrew loader because we're running the web server at homebrew, which will allow us to access this. And now we can run our offline account activator. So we'll select that with X. We just give it some time here, okay? So here we go. So once we get this popping up here, we can press circle to close dialog. And we will now get our offline account activator. So what you're looking for is that your account is not activated if it has all zeros as the account ID, which user 1 here, as you can see, has all zeros. So what you want to do is select the account to activate with X, and it will enter a random ID in here for you. You can just use that ID to activate the account and that will work. Although it will provide some limitations at the moment. Which is that if you use a fake ID, a randomly generated ID like this, you'll only be able to connect third-party remote play clients, like Chucky for example. You will not be able to necessarily connect using the official remote play applications, or perhaps like a PS Portal or anything like that. So if you actually want to be able to use all of the remote play including the official ones, then you're best off using a real PSN account ID to activate your account here on the PS5. So with this account, I'll just go ahead and activate using this random ID but you can see my main account here actually does have my official PSN account ID entered. So how do you get your official account ID? Well, it's actually remarkably simple now to do. All we have to do here is, if we switch back over to our computer for a few seconds, all we have to do is head to this website psnflipscreen.games and enter your PSN username in this box. So just enter your PSN username, click submit, and it will grab your account ID for you. You just want to copy that account ID and paste it into a decimal to hexadecimal converter, like this one on rapidtables.com. The links for everything will be in the description. We click convert here, and we get our hex sign to use complement 16-digit code. And you'll see that that is the account ID. The same account ID that I have activated my account with here. On the PS5, that is how you get your official PSN account ID. So you'll be able to use the official remote play as well as the third-party to connect with remote play to your jailbroken PS5, okay? So once you've successfully activated, we can go ahead and close out of the homebrew launcher. And you're gonna want to reboot your PS5 if you've just activated your account for the first time because not all of the activation is properly applied until you reboot, so just go ahead and restart your PS5 right now. Okay, and you'll know that your account has been successfully activated. When you get to the sign-in screen here, and you press the options button, you should get these options to log in as online, busy, or appear offline. That means your account has been successfully activated. I'm gonna go ahead and sign back into my modded Warfare account here. So all we need to do now is go back onto the exploit here and run the jailbreak again to get John Torlum's elf loader running. Okay, so we're on the home stretch now. So all we need to do is download the remote play getpin.elf file that we can use. This is going to enable remote play and give us our pin code so that we can connect a remote device. And then also we want a remote play client that we can use. So there's a couple of different ones. We've got a Chalky, which you can download for Android, Linux, Switch, Windows, and Mac OS as well. Got support for all of those different operating systems here. So you know I can just use the Windows x86 64 version. There's also a Chucky NG Next Generation. It's also handy for mobile devices like Steam Deck, Raja, those kind of things. You can also use this for that as well. Another free option, and then of course, there is also the official remote play app from Sony themselves, from PlayStation, so we can also give that one a try too. I'll start off using Chucky. I guess first of all, this is kind of a common one that people use. So we'll go ahead and open this up. It's already detecting my console on the network, because I have it connected directly to Wi-Fi. This is another important thing in order to avoid network issues. I highly recommend you connect your PS5 directly to your router, whether that be through Wi-Fi or Ethernet cable. Just make sure it's not connecting through another device. There's not like a middleman device, like going through like your computer's internet connection. For example, that's sharing to the PS5, which is my normal connection setup, which will work if I enter the IP manually. But it can cause problems with the official remote play clients because they don't allow you to enter an IP address. They just search on your network, and if it doesn't find it, it can't find the PS5. So to avoid those issues, it's better to connect your PS5 directly to your router. So if it was not showing up here, we could just click the plus button, enter the IP address of the PS5 and save it manually. But in this case, it's found it here on the network. So we can double click, and then we're gonna select PS5, of course. And then we need to enter our account ID and our PIN code. So this is where we're going to inject this payload here. So we're gonna open up Netcat GUI or some other payload injector. Enter the IP address of your PS5 in the host box port. To for John 90 self-loader, we're gonna drag in our payload here. Get pin code, and we're going to inject this payload onto our PS5. And you will see that we get this notification popping up. Pin code along with account ID. So this is what we want right here. I'm just going to screenshot this on my computer. so that this is easier to see here. So you can see here if I just grab my image editor. This is the message that keeps popping up. We only have a short amount of time to get connected here. So let's go ahead and do this. So first we have to enter our account ID and then the PIN code, which is 5606 38 605. Let's go and try that. Register, and there we go, successfully registered. Awesome. Let's double click this and we should have Remote Play up and running. And we do look at that. It's working. We've got the crackling audio issue though, as you can hear. That's pretty bad. That can be fixed in a number of different ways. One way is to you can increase the audio buffer. I've heard if you set it to 9200, that can actually fix it for some people. Let's hear now. Okay, so that is a bit better, but I'm still hearing audio crackling. So the other fix supposedly is, and this works best for me for some reason with this application, is we go into the audio settings here and we get rid of this DLL file. Although it would help if I actually close the application. So it's not using it right. So we delete that and then we can run the Remote Play client again. And then if we go into the settings, we set the audio buffer to 4000, and for whatever reason, this seems to correct the issue for me. Here we go. So as you can hear, no more crackling audio. So anyway, that fixes the issue there. Let's go ahead and give a different client a try. We can use the official Remote Play app here from Sony themselves. So with the official Remote Play client, we have to sign into our PSN account. This is why it's important to use a real PSN account ID when activating in order to use these official Remote Play clients, because it needs to match the ID of the account you sign into here. With the one on your PS5, it will refuse the connection. So we're gonna sign into PSN here. And we'll just log in with our normal account. Okay. So here we go. So we can select our PS5 before connecting to PS5. Blah blah blah, make sure Remote Play is enabled. Can't find your PS5 pair manually. Okay. So all we gotta do is do the same thing again. So if we switch back over to our console, you can see that we're not running the payload anymore. So I'm just going to inject the payload again so we can get our new PIN code. So there it is. So 1724 26 8 for let's go ahead and pair. And hopefully, yep, there we go. It's weird how it says pairing failed and yet it still works. Not sure what's up with that. But as you can see, we now have access to Remote Play here on our PS5. It's all up and running. Okay. So that's how you get the official Remote Play apps working. That's also how you get the third-party apps working. So fake ID, you'll have to use a third-party client. And if you use a real PSN account ID, you'll be able to use all the official third-party clients, including things like the PS Portal. Now, we also have Chucky, which is next generation. It's basically the same as the regular Chucky application, except it's designed for handhelds, like the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally. If you want to access Remote Play on those devices, so you can still have our console registered from the previous application. So this one is another good one that we can use. It also has the option to pair PSN account to get your PSN token. This is for being able to access Remote Play online over the internet. So this has not worked for me so far. You can give it a try if you go into the settings, you head over to the config settings, and you sign into your PSN account. And then, of course, that gets you the token and it should add your console there. For some reason, for me, it shows up as a maybe PS4. There's an issue there. Or it could be because my primary console on my account is actually perhaps set to a PS4, and that's why it adds the PS4 instead of connecting to the PS5. So there seems to be some issue there. It might be possible to get this to work on a jailbroken PS5. To connect over the internet. It would be a lot easier, but for me, anyway, I haven't been able to get this working so far. I could be missing something though, so that could possibly work the other. The other option, there is also an option without connecting to be able to access Remote Play over the internet. I did cover it in a previous video on setting up Remote Play, figuring this out and getting Remote Play working on consoles that were not previously connected to any PSN account and did not have access to Remote Play. Now we can all enjoy access to Remote Play. This appears to work on most firmwares I've tested on 3.0, but it's also been reported to work on 3.20 and 5.10, and theoretically should work work on the other jailbreakable firmwares too. But if you do have problems with the payload not working, let IdleSauce know and we can get it ported to any firmwares that are currently not working. So yeah, anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed this video or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and once again,